Hey guys, it's Norm from Tested. Today I'm in New York City for Microsoft's Big Devices Day. All their new Windows 10 devices announced here, a ton of products. They had new phones, a new band, they showed off HoloLens, and of course, new Surface Pro laptops and tablets. A lot of surprises as well. Let's quickly cover some of the first announcements. They talked about how successful Windows 10 has been in adoption. Over 110 million users have adopted it over first 10 weeks. They talked about Xbox One games in this holiday season, a new Microsoft band, which has new sensors in it, and they've redesigned the interface. It'll work with iOS, Android, and of course Windows devices. And on the phone side, they also announced two new Lumia phones, which have built-in Windows 10 Continuum. So you can actually plug these phones into an adapter with USB-C onto the monitor and get a desktop experience basically on a full-size display, a 1080p display, while also still running the apps off of the phone. HoloLens also had an appearance here. HoloLens still really isn't a real consumer product yet. In fact, the developer kit, which is going to be shipping in the first quarter of next year, is going to cost $3,000. But what they did demo was Project X-Ray, and this is actually a game that I got to get hands-on time with at E3. It's an augmented reality game where wearing the wireless HoloLens and holding a controller, you can actually see projected on the walls and in your environment an alien invasion, and virtual aliens come out at you and you can shoot them in real time with spatial sound, and of course you can walk around your room. When I played this at E3, I found that the registration on the HoloLens was pretty good and latency was low. The projections, if you want to call them holograms, were relatively opaque. If you really tried to get up close to them, you could see through them. But what they demoed on stage wasn't too much different than what I already saw at E3. The big thing, of course, announced here was the update to the Surface line. I think Surface is perhaps Microsoft's most successful hardware product in the recent memory, outside of gaming. They've sold a ton of these Surface Pro 3 laptops. I was a huge fan of last year's Surface Pro 3. I think it was a great form factor. They got the pen right, integration with OneNote was great, and also they finally got that keyboard hinge right for lappability. You had the hinge that can go all the way out, and then the keyboard, which actually could rest on your lap without flopping around. All of that functionality is now in the Surface Pro 4, and it looks like they didn't make any compromises at all. In fact, the biggest concern I had was whether they would be using a lower power processor just to make this Surface Pro 4 thinner and lighter. Turns out they're going to use Intel's latest Skylake U processors. So these are their core processors, not Core M and not Atom, while the Surface Pro 4 ends up being thinner. There's a bigger screen. It's 12.3 inches now as opposed to 12 inches. It's thinner, 8.4 millimeters as opposed to 9.2. And the pen now can attach to the side. No more pen loop. The pen actually snaps on the side via magnet. And one feature I really like is that with the pen, you can actually swap out the tips of it. So whether you're going to be writing, taking notes, or drawing, or doing other productivity tasks with the Surface Pro 4, you can actually exchange the pen tips out. I thought that was a really neat idea. And finally, with Windows 10 being a much better OS than the previous versions of Windows 8 and 8.1, I think the Surface Pro 4, starting at $900, is going to be a pretty compelling buy when it comes out on October 26th. The big surprise, though, was the Surface Book. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Apple now has a Surface Pro competitor with its iPad Pro, and that is the Apple's Pencil, so why not have Microsoft make a full laptop? And that's what they did. They call it the Surface Book. It's a 13.5-inch display laptop running full Core processors up to Core i7 with discrete graphics, NVIDIA graphics, super high-resolution screen. It has the Surface Pen functionality, and then the big reveal, it also is a convertible. So you can actually detach the screen from the keyboard and use it just as your tablet, use it just like a notebook. I think they said it's similar to that A4 size clipboard, which I think is a really smart move on their part. Something really interesting, because we've seen convertibles before. We've seen companies like HP and Dell and Lenovo experiment with attachable computers where you have the processor and the battery up on the screen, and then the keyboard is just a keyboard accessory, a rigid keyboard accessory. What Microsoft is doing here is actually putting the GPU in the keyboard section. So when you need discrete graphics, if you want to edit video, use Premiere Pro, you can actually plug it in, use it as a rigid laptop, or flip it around. Or if you don't need that discrete GPU, and you just want to use Intel integrated graphics, which are good enough now for most productivity tasks, you can actually just detach it and use it as a really thin, like just over 7mm thick tablet, Surface tablet, a pretty big one at that, at 13.5 inches. I think those are really really smart design decisions, really something that we haven't seen before, and I can't wait to get hands-on time with them. So let's go see if we can actually see the new Surface Pro 4 and new Surface Books in person. All right, so here it is. I have my old Surface Pro 3 next to the new Surface Pro 4. Had some time to try some hands-on with it and found some interesting information. For example, there will be 2 keyboard SKUs. One keyboard will have a fingerprint sensor and one won't. The new keyboards, for example, this one shows the new logic with the fingerprint sensor, and some of the demo units here won't. I assume those would be different price points, and then also the keyboard design itself is different. The keys are separated. They feel really, really good, actually. Really good travel, very even travel. On the old Surface Pro 3 keyboard, the type cover, it was a little wobbly on the sides, but here, on each side, very nice. Also found out, I mean, you can tell it's the exact same footprint, thinner bezel on the Pro 4. That's how they get the bigger 12.3-inch screen. The resolution is actually 2736 by 1824, still 3.3 to 2 aspect ratio. The units they have here are running the Core i5, which is Skylake U, but there will be a Core M model. So I think an entry price point could be the fanless model, a little lighter for Core M, but if you want more performance, step up to the Core i5. I think that's the one I want to be testing. And then the pen, of course, sticks. It's a magnet, sticks to both sides. The eraser has a nice little soft, cushiony feel. It's flush, that's how you get the magnets. Now, I don't know how you change out the tips, but the tips are also interchangeable. In the short time I had with this, typing feels pretty good. Typing on the Surface Pro 4. Pop this off, and you have a thinner form factor than last year. Slightly move different places for the ports. You still have the power connector, and they got rid of the Microsoft button. That's gone as well. Very interesting. So that's Surface Pro 4 on sale October 26th.
He could probably tell you.
All right, guys, so this is the Surface Book. It looks like a laptop. I can hold it from the bottom, but the top will detach. Some interesting things I did find out after getting some hands-on time. First of all, the NVIDIA graphics GPU, it won't actually be in that $1,500 price point. It's optional. It can run on integrated Intel graphics up to Iris if you go to i7, but you can also pay the extra cost and then get the NVIDIA graphics inside. I got a chance to have some displays here where we can actually see what's on the inside. The graphics are here, and then you have batteries on the keyboard as well. Most of the batteries are actually on this keyboard section. The way it works is it can run on battery power when it's detached, and I can press a button right now to electronically detach the top, hold it down, and this is ready to detach, and then it actually just pops out. Magnets here to guide it in. And then when it's in this little tablet mode, it's really light, like 1.6 pounds. Battery will last about 3 hours in this setting, 3000 by 2000 pixel display, so you still have 3 to 2 aspect ratio. But that's not going to be for long-term use, like full-day use. If you want full-day use, I think you're still going to have to plug this in to here. And what you also saw was the connector. So let me press that again. I'm going to press the electronic detach, and you can flip it around, and it's reversible. This is an 80-pin connector here, where you have PCIe for graphics, you have power, you have USB, and then you can actually pop that in as well and use it as a tablet this way if you want more battery life. The build quality is really nice on this. This fulcrum hinge, really nice. I'm going to detach it again and put it back in laptop mode for you guys. Hold it down. There's also a software detach if you just want to do it from the tablet side. These are actually magnets, so I can actually feel it guiding it in. There it is. Something else I also found out about the new pen, no more 2 physical buttons. There is one clicky button here that you can see right there. But the second button, which was the eraser, is now just aligned to the eraser. Using some of the writing tools on this and using some feeling, this is the feel of the pen tip on here, feels more resistive. I like that a lot. It feels less like it's sliding off glass and more like I'm writing on at least some type of material. They're not going to, of course, be able to change the feeling of this glass, so instead they're going to change the tips and let you feel like you're writing on that. So again, starts at Core i5, goes to Core i7. There's an 8 megapixel camera in the back, 5 megapixel camera in the front, 10-point multi-touch, and the configuration that I think people are going to be really interested in is with that NVIDIA graphics GPU. So that is the Surface Book. I think it's also available later in October. Really, really interesting. Can't wait to get one in the lab to test it out.